Alright everyone, we start off today talking about gaslighting by the legacy media, dovetailing actually the mythology of the Defund the Police mythology. I'll get into this particular linguistic squabble momentarily, trying to dovetail that with critical race theory to defend it. By the way, I'm also going to read a self-fulfilling prophecy style review that someone did actually of my book. Link in the description. I'll also pin it down below along with the links to other sites that I use. Now, I'm no longer using Dailymotion. Again, I'll make another video. This is a complex intro here at the moment. I will now be uploading everything instead to minds.com, so you can join me there. Dailymotion has decided to fuck itself, so I've decided to fuck Dailymotion sideways. They need people like me that actually have a pulse on their site, and they've decided probably to alienate most of them. But anyway, so there'll be a pinned comment down below, links in the description, yada yada. Anyway, critical race theory, as I've explained, and I've debunked it from the words of its own academic proponents, which is about as close to an official definition as you're going to get for critical race theory, because critical race theory proponents like to keep it malleable in order to prevent any meaningful criticism of their critical theory. This is so that they can win arguments by being disingenuous. Once you nail it down and you actually explore the more legitimate definition of what CRT is, you find it's inspired by Marxism, self-refutes multiple times, etc. Now, before I get into the Defund the Police debacle, again, another link in the description, archived, of course, to a Hill article trying to defend critical race theory through this convolution. I'm actually going to read you a review here, and we're going to have a little bit of a chuckle. So grab your spoons and make sure that you've spit out any food that's in your mouth already, because otherwise it might go on your computer. This is a review by Captain Dan RG. Nothing in this is for my critical race theory debunking. Nothing in this book suggests that the author even knows what critical race theory is. It is almost insulting how little he actually knows. Yet he still presents himself like he knows everything. He has no facts, no statistics, nothing to back him up on anything. Do not read. I'm thinking to myself, how self-fulfilling. It's that same attempt at malleability, the no true critical race theory argument. This individual is probably a leftoid who slums around on my videos to downvote them all, bought a copy just to give it a 1-star review. By the way, the algorithm prefers you get a 1-star review than no review at all, so thank you very much for your support. And it gives me another opportunity to laugh at someone who deserves it. The fact is that that's not actually true. I took the definition from a left-wing source that literally goes into the people who write academic papers on the subject of critical race theory. There is no further, more objective definition of CRT than the definitions that they themselves give, which is part of the rebuttal. They probably didn't even read the book. They bought a copy and burned it probably, or they bought a copy and they're just, they're a leftoid, and so, they left their review before they actually bothered to delve into the minutiae of my arguments. But in the Hill article here, again, link in the description, archived, of course, they're trying to claim, like, you remember Defund the Police last year when the Democrats were like, yeah, fuck the police, ACAB, and on all these things. A lot of the liberal politicians, people like Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, etc., who are also saying defund the police, some of them made it clear that their variant of defund the police, back when they thought it was popular, they just said, they took up the lemming-like chant of the leftoids. When they realized the vast majority of the U.S. population thought that was a bad idea, they said, no, by defund the police, I actually mean reform the police. Now, they could have used that term to begin with, but they were trying to ride the energy of the left. They thought, again, like always, the left thought it had a massive mandate, when really the only mandate that it ever had was, hey, we've got too many police shootings, do something about it. But the average American very wisely realized that reducing police budgets will not help. Effectively, when we look at what they're proposing, and critical race theory, by the way, is part of this, and I literally cover this in the debunking itself, part of the problem is that their specific proposals would weaken criminal justice efforts to the extent that they exist in the inner city at all, and it's a totally separate issue. There's a lot of corruption there, I note that too. And essentially you'd be ceding the inner cities to gangs and cartels. Effectively, you would make the problem a thousand times worse. Anyway, here's the thing. They're trying to gaslight about the defund the police thing because a lot of politicians afterwards, they said, no, what I really mean is I just want social workers to go to the non-violent calls. I actually support increasing police budgets. When I said defund the police, which that's a 180 from what you're now actually proposing, now that you're no longer a candidate who has to compete with leftoids. Now that Bernie Sanders is no longer a threat, Biden can show his true tough-on-crime colors, just to be clear. Kamala as well. Oh, what I actually meant was just we need more reform, we need more community policing. We make sure the cops come from the communities they're policing and stuff. Which, by the way, that doesn't remove corruption. It doesn't actually bring about accountability. In some inner cities, the cops act like a street gang. Well, street gangs tend to hold within their own ethnic communities. Does that mean that if they shank someone, the neighbors complain and force them to turn themselves in? Or does it act like Gran Torino or something like that? It's horseshit to propose any of these things and they won't work. CRT, meanwhile, being defended by this mythology about defunding the police actually meaning police reform. See, because it became political deadweight for the Democrats, they changed their tune. No, defunding doesn't mean defunding. Likewise, they're now saying, well, the Democrats just need to refocus their message. They're losing badly on the idea of critical race theory because they're not preventing their opponents from putting words in their mouths and strawmanning what CRT means. But again, we know what CRT is. Gaslighting and pretending like nobody knows what critical race theory pertains to is bullshit. It's propaganda. The fact is that the vast, overwhelming majority of Americans don't like critical race theory. I wonder why. Could it be the revisionist, ahistorical content? The ingrained anti-white racism? The preposterous and insulting suggestions about non-white people? Could it be the suggestion to abandon the inner cities and let the crime rate skyrocket? Could it be the Marxism? I don't know. I wonder why the average person wouldn't like it. And keep in mind, that's only among people who've heard of it. Now imagine that they actually knew that it was partially derived from Marxism. Again, openly stated by the academic proponents that form this actual unified theory. There is no other definition to use. There's no gaslighting going on. Yes, CRT is bigoted towards much of the population. It's insulting towards most of the rest. Yes, Karl Marx plays a role in the development because essentially critical race theory, when you look at its suggestions, is little more than Marxism minus class warfare plus race warfare. That's basically the point. It sounds a lot like Marx. It's just that Marxism failed because people, capitalism uplifted enough people out of sheerest poverty through technological advancement and low tax policies that even now that we have less capitalism, the things generally work for the majority of the population. Well, if 75% of your population isn't feeling desperately impoverished, class warfare becomes a little bit more difficult now, doesn't it? But if you can split people apart along racial and ethnic lines, it becomes more simple in a less homogenized society. If those people, though, for a second abandon that and start looking at themselves just as Americans, that falls through too. You'll have to have age warfare or gender warfare or something like that. It is a Marxist subversion, to be clear, according to some of the proponents. The rest of them are just, they're ignorant of what it means because they haven't been told. Because they haven't been confronted by any singular, authentic, objective source of what it even means. So if you are told by CNN, hey, critical race theory, it's pretty good, it's school equity. We're trying to get more equity in our schools. Oh, that sounds good, it's equitable. So it's about equality and helping people. Well, it's not. But if that's how it's presented and you absorb that propaganda, which is what it is, maybe you support it, even if it has something technically in common with Stalinism, because you don't know what you're talking about. The fact is that review becomes almost self-satirical because the person who wrote it, if they're not just acting in bad faith because they don't like me, which is, I think, more likely than not, then it shows that they're ignorant. It's them who doesn't know what critical race theory is. Maybe they should crack open the fucking goddamn booklet. They're probably watching this video just to downvote it. Hopefully they actually watched the whole thing. Maybe then they'll begin to understand their entire worldview is based on ignorance. That's about all. Peace out.